The apostles gathered together with Jesus and reported all they had done and taught. He said to them, "Come away by yourselves to a deserted place and rest a while." People were coming and going in great numbers, and they had no opportunity even to eat. So they were off in the boat by themselves to a deserted place. People saw them leaving, and many came to know about it. They hastened there on foot from all the towns and arrived at the place before them. When he disembarked and saw the vast crowd, his heart was moved with pity for them, for they were like sheep without a shepherd, and he began to teach them many things. The Gospel of the Lord. All of Erie shuddered this past week at the heinous act that was committed in our community when a 14-year-old boy attempted to take the bicycle away from another teenager, and the owner of the bike refused to give it to him. He simply pulled out a gun and murdered him, right in front of the victim's younger brother. That follows the murder of another teenager just a few weeks before, and yesterday a volunteer worker was shot. Why is there so much violence in our community? A couple of thoughts. Does it not seem that we are increasingly raising a generation of children who have no rootedness whatsoever in morals or ethical values? And at the present time, that is confined to the periphery, to the marginalized, the impoverished. But it is merely a matter of time before it creeps into the mainstream. Read all of the sociological data. Young people in alarming numbers are not only distancing themselves from organized and institutionalized religion, they are simply saying that God does not exist. And if I say that God does not exist, then it's all about me, and life is about survival. Animals fight for survival. Human beings show compassion. Secondly, does it not seem increasingly that people are less and less likely to take responsibility for their actions in life? Well, it's because of my parents or because of the environment I was raised in. The Crispus Attucks Center in York, Pennsylvania, is one of the most effective centers in the United States to overcome poverty and violence. It took a neighborhood that was laden with drugs and violence and transformed it into a haven. People long to live there. The young people who were impoverished can't wait to be part of the Crispus Attucks Center because they see it as their key out of poverty. But if you visit it, you see emblazoned everywhere you look the bold words, "I am responsible for my own life." Thirdly, we need to revisit the public educational system in this nation. Not the private system, the public system. It is the very backbone of this great republic. And in most of the urban centers of our land, it is broken. People have left the urban centers and moved to the suburbs, and so there is no tax base to support it, and it is vastly underfunded. Administrators fast discover that before they can teach children, they have to feed them because they get no nourishment at home. And teachers spend as much time disciplining children as they do instructing them. The system is broken, and education is the key to escaping poverty. With education comes motivation and the desire to leave behind that lifestyle and become productive citizens. The great historian Edith Hamilton once wrote of ancient Athens, "In the end, more than they wanted freedom, they wanted security. They wanted a comfortable life, and they lost it all. Security, comfort, freedom." When the Athenians finally wanted not to give to society, but for society to give to them, when the freedom they longed for was freedom from responsibility, then Athens ceased to be free. Frighteningly, does not that description sound more and more like America today? But we have to remember one thing. You and I are Christian, and the Christian is always and everywhere rooted in hope. The darkness will not prevail, a new dawn will break forth. I remember an incredibly muggy, hot June day in 1969, sitting in St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York City for the funeral mass of the assassinated Senator Robert Kennedy. At the end of the mass, his brother eulogized him, and he said in part, "Those of us who loved him and who take him to his rest today, pray that what he was to us and what he meant to others might one day come to pass for all the land. As he said many times in many parts of this land, to those he touched and to those who sought to touch him, some men see things as they are and say, why? I dream of things that never were and say, why not? And that is the definition of a Christian, and that is how we will conquer this. Amen."